You know what I want to talk to you guys about, which I remember reading in the notes here, which I thought was fascinating. Maybe we can make that a big part of this conversation in a way, is the connection to the French New Wave. I know was a big impact on you creatively, inspirationally, and the film, you could see it. Like, one thing that occurs to me after knowing that about your feelings about that type of film is that in France, of course, in the history of French cinema, affairs, it's kind of, not unusual. It's sort of not taken quite so, I mentioned the ego earlier. It's not quite taken on that level so much. It's like, unless you can't be betrayed, or there isn't feelings of betrayal and hurt and all those things around having affairs. But it's not on the level here in the States that we look at it as the ultimate betrayal, right?
Well, what's funny is in real life, it is taken very seriously in French.
So in French films, is it?
Yeah, like I think French films are a misrepresentation about. Trust me, like if you've ever, if you've ever dated someone or been or married someone or been in a relationship with someone French and wronged them in this way,
yes,
I assure you they take it very seriously
and hold on to it for many years.
So it's a myth.
Oh, I don't know if it's a myth. I think it's hard to categorize an entire culture or generalize an entire culture of people. Sure. But
that's sort of the theme of this podcast.
Yeah, it's broad generalization. Is that the
broad
generalization?
Broad generalization
with your host.
Anything you want it to be.
All right. Well, let's keep it within the context of cinema then, which is maybe, as usual, it kind of does exaggerate, or maybe the writers and filmmakers who kind of use that idea. Maybe it was just wishful thinking. I don't know, but it seems as though French audiences may just not have as big a problem with that entering into a friend. It doesn't have to be something that destroys a friendship.
Well, that's something we really wanted to talk about because
this is Kyle.
This is me. I'm the one who sounds like a Muppet. If you ever listening to this podcast, the Muppet is Kyle. Okay, that's not me. I think for us, we really wanted to explore friendship and the friendships that we have in our lives where there are transgressions and we do have to somehow come to grips with what does that mean for ourselves. And that I think was really important, was like, hey, friends that we have, can I swear?
Yes, I
fuck up and do things that are reprehensible, and somehow we have to get through that.
Right.
And I think that's definitely something we wanted to explore, affairs being one of the many things that friends do to each other that are damaging.
Yeah.
I think to your point, what you're talking about with French cinema dealing with these themes, just in a more nuanced way, or dealing with these themes and letting it sort of be okay or less important. I think more what the French cinema we're talking about here handles, how it handles it and what it does is it doesn't use it as a tool to villainize the characters and in the story. So
that's true.
In American cinema, we often see we need people to be okay with the journey that this character is about to go on. Let's make the wife cheat or the husband cheat. If they cheat, then it's okay that this person goes on this other love story over here or goes down this road over here. And it's like this very black and white tool that is used because as a generalization, most people can just wrap their head around that's wrong. It's black and white. You're done with this person. Move on. Whereas in French cinema, Claude Sauté and Godard and Truffaut and Eric Romer, these filmmakers explored the nuance within that and said this does happen in everyday life and it's always messy and we're gonna like Le Mépris is like one of the greatest films of all time, and the subject matter is so very simple, and yet there's so much nuance underneath the surface.
Yeah. Also, when I mentioned these things, I mean, I was kind of being superficial. I mean, the usually in the marriages where there people are sleeping with others potentially or occasionally having, it's an understanding usually, not all, this is, it's okay as long as you don't get emotionally involved, then it's okay to have affairs and maybe it helps the marriage, It's not a betrayal. Like there is on a very certainly on a surface level, if not even deeper, Mike does betray Kyle. He lies. He's doing this thing, and so it's not quite as it's not usually if he knew about it ahead of time. But it's not giving away because this, by the way, is not a spoiler per se because it does happen in the
movie. Yeah,
it's the concept, and also it takes place in the first minutes, right?
Yes, I think it's in the commercial.
Yeah, well, this is
trailer.
You're biking. Right, you're biking in it. You drop this information while
it happens in minute 3, maybe 4.
Yeah. So, were you going for laughs by the shock of that type of thing, or? I mean, it's okay to say yes. Right?
No, it's a comedy. So if we didn't get laughs there,
I suppose
we probably wouldn't be talking right now.
But were you concerned about the tone was so important, right? Because the likability factor, first of all, the characters are people going to reject Mike for being cuckolding his friend, etc. And then are you just a weak Kyle? Are you like a weak person? How strong?
Yeah.
And is this? Do you really want there to be a kind of like a what do you call after you laugh at something that sort of pang afterwards of regret of laughing at something very painful? You have to find the right.
For us, that was the line we were always walking was, and I think what we prioritized was always character first and the authenticity of the character journey and whether or not it felt real and whether or not you were with these people in this moment and the comedy was sitting on top of that, and it was always something we talked about in terms of, are we going too far? Is this too much? Is a pratfall here too much? And is it going to alienate people, or is his behavior or my behavior going to alienate people? It was something we constantly talked about.
Yeah, I think by the nature of the subject matter we were dealing with, we were setting ourselves up for some really great comedic moments because in the tension of and the discomfort that's created in some of these situations, there's a release that sort of almost wants to be had. Yes. And if you give the audience that, I think they'll oftentimes laugh. Like, that's why you see uncomfortable laughter happen in theaters when there isn't even a joke sometimes in movies. It's that nature of I'm too tense, I'm too uncomfortable, I have to laugh to like almost relieve that tension. So they actually work hand in hand and work really well together, I think. And that was what was exciting to us, was this tone of finding bittersweet, comedy in the sadness. And like Kyle said, it was really just about not necessarily worrying about the likability of the characters, but worrying about the.
Do you have to? Go ahead, finish your thought.
Some do, and I think that comes up, and that's a thing that I think when you are a screenwriter for a while, it kind of gets programmed into you or noted into you, and we sort of ignore that entirely if we can. Yeah. Not because it doesn't matter, but that isn't the actual thing. When someone says like the character's not likable enough, I don't think that's what they actually mean, because there's very unlikable characters in many movies. It's a question of if I understand the character fully. And so like if the character's on one dimension and it's one dimensional and it's doing the same note over and over,
twirling the mustache,
and you add another layer to it, it might not be a layer that makes you like the character more, but it might be a layer that makes you more intrigued by the character and more interested in the character.
Absolutely. Also, to like a character doesn't mean they're likable.
Right.
Totally.
That was smart. Now, come on.
That's pretty good.
That was good. I even surprised myself.
I'm putting that in my quote book.
To like a character doesn't mean it's likable. You heard it here first from Mike Covino. So that's a quote by Mike.
Some of the great characters, let's face it, are, if not villains, complicated guys.
Totally.
Tony Soprano, whoever it is.
Yeah, totally.
Dexter.
He's pretty likable, though.
Yeah, but why? Not because he's murdered.
Because he's funny.
Because he's a psychopath.
Because he is contradictory. Because we love characters that contradict themselves and are flawed in ways that we can understand.
Yeah.
So
and what do they do to you, the viewer, and make you think about yourself? I wonder.
Yeah, I think the beauty of cinema is it makes you empathize. It makes you understand other points of view that aren't necessarily ones that you have to sustain, but can, for a short amount of time, understand another person's perspective, and that, I think, is the power of cinema.
The name of the film is called The Climb. It's directed by Michael Angelo Covino, who has a background in producing. I'm repeating this because I think I lost some of this, and I'm not sure where. And you produced Hunter-Gatherer. What was that, 2016 South by?
2016 South by.
That was great. I love that. And immediately went up to Andre Royo afterwards in the lobby of the convention center. That's where it was, right? Remember? It was at the convention center, right?
Yeah, it was at that theater that they built from scratch in the convention center.
Yeah, the Vimeo. I think they used to call it
Vimeo
Vimeo
Theater.
Yeah,
that's right.
now they call it. It's empty.
Yeah, now
I'm
they
really
call it an
pissed
empty
off.
convention
and that's
center.
no joke. I mean, as we record this, South by would be starting like tomorrow or something, and it's.
We were supposed to be there.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
We were playing at South by Sunday night.
Speak. What do you mean? Explain. I mean,
our movie was supposed to play at South by at Sunday night.
This one.
This movie was playing.
What
South
other
by.
one would there be? I'm just trying to.
Oh,
catch
we made
up,
another
so-
one actually.
Well, it's already got distribution, and while we're mentioning it, it opens on Friday, March 20th. I know, and
Then rolling out.
so you were, but you had a special screening. Is that what it was? Because where did you premiere the film? Oh, it was just on.
We premiered the film at Cannes.
That's the one in France.
The
right?
one in it's close to
and
Nice.
where you shot some of the film.
Yeah, we shot like 30 minutes from where we premiered.
That's amazing.
Really?
Cannes. Well,
Yeah.
Okay, we'll get to that. Let's hope they don't cancel Cannes. Although
I don't think they'll cancel Cannes.
No?
The French,
I feel like
the French are very.
right.
I mean, it didn't seem like South by canceled it. It seemed like the city of Austin
It's
canceled it.
very true.
And so
I'm saying I didn't
I think
blame South
at this
by.
point the film festival owns the city of Cannes or runs the city of Cannes. I would imagine.
Well, yeah, but think about what percentage of the economy, if you talk about the ripple effect,
Yeah.
that 2 weeks in March,
it's
how
devastating.
that affects
Austin,
the
it's
Austin
insane.
economy.
Yeah, Austin, it's
So-
devastating for that community, and
Yeah.
and honestly, for everyone involved does not win on this. The filmmakers don't get to premiere their film. It's a huge
so many
deal.
levels to
Whoever Airbnb'd their house out,
just go on and on.
Yeah, yeah. We're lucky.
It affects every individual.
It's crazy.
Every individual,
Yeah.
practically.
We're lucky in that, it was just a really exciting opportunity to play the film in Austin to this great audience and
Yeah.
Right.
go back to this festival that we love. But
Right. So wait,
You
so you was this booked? So was the Climb booked there like a while ago, and then
Yeah,
or
I think-
programmed is the
I
word.
think we talked to Janet, the head of South by. I
Yes.
think saw it at
She's done a
Telluride.
show. Oh, okay.
So we played at Telluride, and then I think she saw it there.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was just more. She didn't book us then because there's a long time. But I think the idea was like if it worked out with the release schedule of the movie, and so we sort of decided. I think Sony decided to release 5 days after our South by
Okay.
premiere. So it was the idea that it would be like the last.
I see.
The
That's
last,
wonderful. Hypothetically,
Yeah.
as it turns out. I'm sorry about your screening. Then, yeah, just torn up. I've already said. I reached out. I put this on social media. I said any filmmaker. I don't care if I've seen your film or not, or I obviously haven't, but if you've got a short, feature, documentary, experiment, I don't care. You're welcome on my podcast. I mean,
Cool.
Awesome.
I don't know what that matters in the pill of beans, but it's a gesture.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to actually do it, but it's a gesture. And I'm saying it. It's out there. If you have a film and you want to come on it, you're automatically default. You can be a guest on this podcast. I'll make it work. Yes, the opening sequence of The Climb, which again is refers to potential. Obviously the Climb is trying to bike up. Where is the Pyrenees, or is that the other part of France? What's in the south of France?
It's the pre-Alps. It's the
Alps.
It's the Alps.
So it's the going up a mountain, of course, on your bike is the climb, but it's also refers to life and that slog and trying to squeak by, so you can get to the peak of life and without killing any yourself or anybody else. Emotionally, what have you. And so anyway, I did want to just say it is a potential thing as we speak right now, where I just got an alert, not to be hysterical or anything, but I mean, when somebody says it's a New York Times thing, like 70% of Germany is expected to be affected by this virus. That's terrifying kind of news. You're right.
Yeah, I mean, I think we try to take all news. I try to take all news with a bit of a grain of salt in terms of the effects of it. I think there's a lot of this stuff that's terrifying, but there's also a lot we don't understand. And I think without a proper balance of understanding of what does that number represent, I think there can be very sort of like terrifying and hysterically inducing information which is short of their knowledge. But yes, it absolutely
is that helpful to put out that news information? I don't know. I'm just wondering. Yeah. Also, a bit with being affected, does that mean like your friend has it and then you're affected by the emotional?
That's what I'm saying. The generalities of some of those statements are sometimes are shareable on Twitter, but maybe not beneficial for our understanding of the world.
It's more beneficial to continue to create hysteria than it is, in some ways, than it is to keep people well informed of the actualities of the circumstance.
Yeah.
And like I read a New York Times, LA Times, an LA Times article about the coronavirus that actually put things in perspective for me, because I was very freaked out, and then I was like, oh, okay, this makes a bit more sense in terms of it's.
Yes,
it was like contextualizing it and not saying that it's not a very serious thing or it's not an epidemic, but it just put it in like proper context as opposed to the sensationalized context.
Yeah, and it's interesting because my ex-wife, who's in Los Angeles working there, she called me last night and we have a son, who's living with me, so it's a lot of concern. And but she was like, the information they're getting there seems to be more sober. Now, New York is pretty good in that way.
Yeah.
Typically, I mean, we have a good government. Good, and I'm not talking specifically about this governor versus another governor, but the health organizations and all the it's much better than the federal, that's for sure. Anyway, so it was interesting to get the information there. It seemed like it was very, very practical and sober, and that's where we need to be at. So I think you can on the 20th of March, The Climb is a comedy with certainly dramatic it's a drama as well. It depends how you want to
like
interpret.
comedies,
it's a comedy with dramatic overtones.
If you like comedies, it's a comedy. If you like dramas,
cliche.
It's a drama.
It's life, right? Which has both.
That's
especially
exactly right.
When you're in the most heightened moments of life and something really huge happens, like your best friend, divulges that he's slept with your fiancée. It's some people are going to laugh at that, the shock of it. But it makes you. It's because it also does make you uncomfortable. This idea. It's our fear of being humiliated and of being betrayed and all these things. It's a relief when you're watching it happen to somebody on the screen, or you hear about it. It's happening to somebody else. But it's the biggest. We're talking about terrifying information or news, and that delivery of that information should have just decimated Kyle's, right? I mean, Kyle.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I
think it
so
does.
It's not fun.
Yeah, for sure it does.
I think it decimates him in a real way. It's just a question of this is a film that takes place over a decade or so, and it has to continue on, and life has to continue on, and really what we were exploring is what happens when two people do have this sort of bond that they don't intend to let go of, or they don't want to let go of, and maybe because
that's where the love story comes in.
And that's where the love story comes in. I think it's about those friendships that we hold, that maybe we formed at a period of time in our life where we were figuring out who we are, and so one could let go of that friend, but to let go of that friend is to let go of yourself as a child, and to let go of who you are, because they're the only ones who know you from the age 8 to 12, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, the ultimate, again, we were given messages. Sleeping with your friend's partner, whomever, is the ultimate betrayal. However, that's just somebody said that. This is something we're convinced of. Isn't the transgression might be the betrayal itself, or it's the motivation for the betrayal, and it could have been manifested in some other way. So if you can get over the ego part of it. I know, again, I'm repeating some of the things I said earlier, but I just want to make sure we get all the major points of the film and bring people into the theaters.
I think like we were discussing, that transgressions occur in friendships in all iteration, in many iterations and many scales. Right. And I think this explores our reaction and way we process any of those. This one just happens to be one of the ones we consider to be a big one. Society considers to be a big one.
It's certainly true. So at Sony Pictures Classics, when did that come into place? By the way, you it sounded almost this had a, I don't want to say this almost like honeymoon of a. You
can call it a honeymoon.
Okay. Again, this was the feature, The Climb, again, which opens up on March 20th theatrically, was started as a short film called The Climb. Was Talia was not in that? I assume.
No, it was just the short film was just the
two of you. Yeah. Okay, very good. I haven't seen it, but and it premiered at Sundance,
That's
right?
correct.
In what year? 2018 or something.
Yep.
Okay,
exactly.
And so, did you Cannes? I mean, and Sony. Obviously, if you're at Cannes, you're likely to get a nice distribution deal. That's almost a given. Not always.
Well, sadly, it's not an almost given in today's day and age, but
okay.
Certainly for America.
We got very lucky. Yeah.
All my films certainly got picked up there by major distributors. Sorry. But that did happen at Cannes.
Yeah, we sold the film at Cannes to Sony,
nice.
And it was one of those.
It's so nice when there's the
dream scenarios, that happens kind of on the spot. The whole thing was, quite a surprise. I don't think when you make an American comedy and you're a first-time filmmaker and you star in it, that we had.
It's an adult, and by comedy, this is like an adult comedy. It's not. Yeah. It's not. The overnight or the not the overnight. Sure. What is it? Some broad.
Sure.
Comedy where.
Yeah, we're not gonna.
Somebody's on.
We're not gonna shit on any other movies. But
no.
But I think,
The Overnight is a really good one, actually.
Yeah.
I just.
But I think, we had an inclination that maybe a French audience might appreciate the film because we were dealing with themes, from French cinema. We were pulling from these sort of deep tracks of French music that we loved, but never actually knowing if that would be true. And we were quite surprised when we got into Cannes. It was like a shocking surprise. Because they pulled the DVD from a pile. We just submitted. We put 2 Blu-rays in a mail.
Really?
Yeah, and just sent it, and to an address somewhere in Paris, and then we're just all right, we'll just wait.
Yeah. And then
an email came through.
An email came, and it said congratulations. And
it said you've been shortlisted. Oh. And then I was like, what does that even mean?
Yeah.
Because I've never been shortlisted for anything. And then we got a sense that a couple of sales companies reached out to us, foreign sales companies.
They
have the inside scoop. So that's when we sort of knew, we're probably going to get
people. Yeah, we're winding it up now. We have to finish soon because the guys from the air conditioner are going to...
Yeah. They have to come in.
That's no criticism. Trust me. We had a really nice time. It's just I had a technical problem at the very beginning, so that's why we're taking as long as...
Yeah.
This has been a bit of a climb, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully a pleasant.
A wonderful
sunny,
climb.
beautiful day.
That's great.
That's
we're
great
going.
Cool.
We're climbing. We're going down. We're climbing back up. It's great. Machine goes down. We climb back up. We said the same thing 3 times. No.
Well, it's terrific. It's called The Climb, and March 20th it opens in New York. And how many theaters, Jessica? How many or cities is a better question.
So we got.
Okay.
New York and LA on March 20th, and then it expands
there,
nationwide the following week.
Nationwide into thousands of cinemas.
Yeah, they've promised us at least 2,500.
That is thousands.
Yeah,
I was kidding, but that's
so you heard it here first.
Remarkable...
Sony Pictures Classics. 2,500 screens is minimum.
It's really such a rare thing for an adult
I'm kidding.
film.
I'm kidding. It's not that many screens.
Okay.
That was a joke.
We wish. He's trying to pressure
11
Sony on the air.
I was trying to go on the record pressuring them to do 2,500.
He's a big believer in manifest destiny. So if he says it into a podcast, it normally happens.
We'll just say 2,500.
The other day he's like, I really want a bagel, and it just appeared. So he's like, I should step the game up.
Let's just put it this way. Let's phrase it this way. It's 2,500 theaters. We're rounding up.
Okay. Listen, James Bond, just disappeared. Someone needs to fill these screens.
Yeah, there's a lot of open screens.
What happened? Oh, they pulled it for the moment.
On.
I don't understand that, but I guess I do. And it stars, the film, The Climb, stars the director of the film, Michael Angelo Covino, who produced Hunter-Gatherer, one of the shows we did here on the podcast some years ago. And you're, again, the director of the film as well as co-writer and co-star. Kyle Marvin, who's we've been talking with, is co-star and co-writer. He's in it. And Gail Rankin and Filmwax Radio friend Talia Balsam. George Wendt, Cheers fame.
Yep.
And
big Cheers fan.
I think I'm just going to refer to everybody as from Cheers fame. I think it's a good.
Cheers, fam.
And Judith Godrich. Who's that?
From
again?
The Overnight.
Oh, she's from The Overnight. One of my favorite comedies. By the way, when I said that, I was actually not criticizing those films.
Of course not.
I was saying those are usually just the successful films when it comes to comedies, and that a lot of comedies, let's say, are a little bit more nuanced.
Yeah, I didn't take it as you were insulting
or
it at
dramatic, or or actually don't get the kind of distribution they deserve because they need big stars, doing very broad things to get as many people into the theaters. And it's just nice to see there are alternatives occasionally that are getting into theaters. So maybe it's not 2,500 theaters, but I imagine it's going to be in quite a number around the country.
Yeah, it'll be around the country. That's I mean, the truth is,
and are you guys go on a bit of a road tour, or is that not a great idea right now? Okay, right.
We're in the middle of one.
Okay. Well, thank you both for coming on. I hope you guys will come back on with the next project.
We'd be happy to.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed meeting you guys very much. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.